Okay, so there might be some background noise, mostly cars driving by or my mom or something, but hopefully this works well enough. Um, if my voice goes out or something, it's because I'm kind of sick still, so bear with me. Besides that, if this like screen that I show, which is hopefully showing right now, is like too pink or too bright, I apologize very sincerely because that's just what I'm used to on my Tumblr page. But um, I did get someone asking me. I feel like I know who it is, but I got someone asking me a bunch of writer questionnaire asks. So I'm going to answer that right now instead of drawing because the frame rate would be awful. And besides that, I'd have no like way to pay attention to everything going on. If there is a chat right now, which I should check, yeah, it's there. Um, so that's up, but I'm just gonna start answering some of the questions right now. Question one: what is one aspect of your writing that you wish to improve upon? Um, in my case, I think it all boils down to just simplifying plots specifically, because and by the way, this is going to be very much Italia fan fiction roleplay like based because this is most of the writing I've done for at least 4 years now. So I hope that's okay with you. But the one thing I really want to improve on is just getting my plot straight, sticking with it, and not letting my characters write the story for me, which is what I've basically been doing, which is why I've stopped writing fan fiction frequently because I can't get everything where it needs to be. I can't keep up my own plot points and notes that I write down. I never stay to it. I just let my characters write for me, and then it's just a bunch of dialogue, and nothing happens besides more dialogue or going to another place. And um the biggest example I have for that awful problem is my fan fiction Bound by the Vintner. That's literally the one that I can't even write magic right because it's just I'm like, how does this work? How does that work? And it's so bad that I actually have a little document, a little self Q&A for like just in case anyone ever had questions about like how the magic works or what happened that chapter, just in case I get too like descriptive or too weird about it. Um, it's like, oh, this happened that chapter, this happened that chapter, and that tells you just how much I'm like not good at focusing on keeping the plot going. And I wish I could, but I'm not very good at it. And you can't tell right now because you can't see me moving around, but I'm gesturing wildly like an Italian. I can't help it. I'm sorry. Thankfully, you don't have to see it, but that's question one. Um, Next question. What is the one thing you constantly seem to struggle with when writing? Well, like I said before, it's just keeping everything straight. It's keeping it on a linear path. It's actually writing the story. Like, I can have ideas all day, but if I'm not doing it in a linear way, like and I don't really even follow my own like guidelines, which is probably one of the reasons why in school when the teachers would say you have to plot out your essays, you have to do this and that um little rule thing, I can never really make myself do it, and I'd say I don't need that to write an essay. So it's like you hear me, it's like I'm not listening, but it's not because I don't see the worth in it. I have such trouble following the directions, and I'm really not trying to be a butthole about it, but that's the truth. I suck at it. So, um that is like my number one problem when it comes to writing. It's actually like sticking to what I've said I'm going to do. I just do whatever, and what happens happens, and I want to fix that, but we'll see how that goes. So, you know, I'm trying. I'm trying my hardest. Please bear with me. So, and oh, the next question is, what is the one aspect of your writing you pride yourself on? Well, not to be this girl, and this is gonna be a lot of me talking just I hope I'm not being too tooting my own horn and shit, but the one aspect of my writing that I've always enjoyed is how sometimes I'll just be writing and there's like little hints of symbolism. There's little things of like me having um really intense emotions mixed with like deeper understanding of the character as I write. And this is like mostly when it comes down to things I've done in roleplay, and it's like all unintentional. It just kind of happens. And my biggest sorry, my biggest greatest yeah my greatest examples of those moments are when I've written Russia mostly, especially when it comes to like him understanding that um, something he's doing is not exactly the best thing to do. Like this one time, I had this role play with a very amazing Neo Lithuania, and it was basically he was like talking down to her, and she was his slave basically in his house, which is like kind of uh let's see, USSR, like Soviet Union, like in that era. And he was basically like ordering her around, just like, and she was doing her best to keep it in, like not talk back to him, because we all know how he is when he's, angry. He'll have a fit. And just she literally like broke him down in his kitchen when he was like cooking once. And he just turned to her and he's just like, I can't even fully remember. I'd have to bring up like the document. But basically, what happened was he realized he was like turning into what is it, the Ottomans? Whoever it was, like Mongolia, the people that he didn't want to become in the past, like evil bullies, breaking people down, crushing their spirits. He was becoming that guy, and she was telling him that. And once all that sunk into him, he became so hurt because he knew it was the truth and he didn't want to accept it, but he knew that was happening. So what happened was he left his pot on the stove. It was burning for hours. Sophia left the room, and he left the house, and she didn't realize it till hours later that he was gone. He was so upset that he just left the room, he left the house, he left everything because he couldn't face himself. Like that's the kind of thing that I'm proud of myself for being able to do, especially unintentionally. It makes me proud that I've written it, even if um I never thought I'd do it at all. Um I'm rambling if you can't tell. Sorry about that. I do that a lot. So um the next question is, what is the most important quality you look for in someone else's writing? Huh. Well, besides being descriptive to a point where I can like imagine a scene in front of me, something else I look for is like deep character connections, deep characterization, um, and even if like someone is kind of written out of character, if it's out of character to the point where I can't see them ever doing that, then I can't read it unless it's a crack story, which is kind of the point. But um I look for those things that keep you hooked into a story, and I can even overlook um I can overlook bad grammar as long as the story is amazing. And actually, I'm gonna look up that story that I'm thinking of, because that story deserves props because it made me get over my hatred of like bad grammar because the story itself was so compelling. Like if you can do a story like that, then that's what I'm looking for. Um, Regardless of pairing or whatever, because I don't really care about the pairings as long as it's written well, because that's all writing really comes down to is writing it well. And you keep going, you keep trying, and you succeed. Um, I'm just gonna find it. So wait a sec, because I remember it's this really good France and England story. Here it is. Love Must Be a Sin by Sev Loves Lily. It's a medieval AU. That story, amazing. Um, Geez, it was written in 2012, but yeah, that story. I am gonna have to like put link somewhere, but the story is one of my favorites, and like they wrote about the time period, the medieval like period. They wrote it. They wrote it. They wrote it like accurately to where obviously gay relationships aren't, good. They're not allowed. They didn't just like snuff it out, to be nice to, they actually talked about it, which is another thing I love. Bringing up things that make people uncomfortable because that is how it is. And even now with gay acceptance, it's still not, not all people are going to be happy to know that their family members, friends, their bosses or whatever, or like the same sex, they still can't deal with that. So the fact that that story still brought it up, especially to such a demographic as fangirls, who love the pairing or just like, oh look, a nice story. It won't hurt me, it won't hit me in the feels. They still did it, and I'm really proud of that person for writing such an amazing story in general. Oh, by the way, I hope my voice isn't too quiet. I just now noticed that like it's bassy, but yeah. But yes, the most important quality I look for in someone's writing, long story short, just heart, just character, heart, just being by the characters for the characters and not being ashamed of it. Um, Next question. When writing, what do you find yourself focusing to convey? Imagery, banter, emotions, actions? This one is going to be, well, all of them. All of these are like very much. I talk a lot, but when writing, what I want to focus on mostly, I would say the banter, because like I said before, I really love dialogue. I love having little happy, like little cute relations, and you can like see it with everything that the characters are doing with each other. Um, and I'm just gonna keep bringing up that fan fiction, but yeah. Like in Bound by the Vintner, when I have Arthur and Alfred talking, how Arthur's always like, "Oh, looky you here, um, doing this and that. You're just so bad." bad. That was a bad accent, by the way. But how he's always just pushing his buttons and without even trying. Um, or how just with each chapter, their relationship is more and more, what's the word I'm looking for? It's more and more solidified. Like, you can tell that they're having this bond, and it's not just artificial, it's not just for the story, it's ingrained into them. The more they talk, the more they understand each other, the more they sympathize with each other. That's the kind of thing that I always want to convey in my stories, which is why whenever someone's like, "Oh, I love how you wrote the characters," or "Oh, you did this in character," I'm just really happy because I try my hardest with the only 13 stories. I think it says on Archive of Our Own, with only those 13 stories that I've had like published. um, I try my hardest with each one, so even just one comment or just someone saying, "Oh, you did that great," or keep writing more, just writing more in general, it makes me so proud. But yeah, mostly when I look at my comments, the few that I get, it is telling me how I wrote like everything really emotional, and how those emotions are carried out through everything I do, which is something that my ex, well, she's my friend now, but my ex-girlfriend told me, and I was really proud of really proud of myself, really happy with that. So emotions is mostly what I'm trying to convey in the story. Emotions, relationships, bonds, closeness. That's long story short there. I'm gonna keep saying that. Okay. Do songs play any role in inspiring you to write a particular scene? Yes, yes, I'd say they would, especially um, songs that like establish a mood. Um, for that, and because I mostly listen to K-pop, I know I'm a loser. Um, let's just do music recommendations here so I can make this one as short as possible. Songs, yeah, yeah. Um, when I have to write something angry or like angsty, I listen to stuff like Muse, especially Muse, because they're really good at that. Um, other angsty things would say, like the first album that We Are Scientists made. That album, what is it called? It's like it's not Brain Thrust Mastery because that's their like second album. Uh, with Love and Squalor, yeah. Their first album with Love and Squalor is like really, really angsty, I'd say, but it's like the angst that I can like identify with, and it's not too much. It's not like Linkin Park angst, so that's why I use that. Especially the song "It's a Hit" or "Can't Lose." Those two songs are really angsty, and they get me in the mood for writing it, but not in a like cathartic way. I can like write it perfectly with those kinds of like down in the dumps songs. Whereas if I'm listening to K-pop and especially artists like Oh My Girl, Lovelies and such, they're so upbeat and positive that writing like those happy, shippy, lovey-dovey scenes while listening to them is incredibly easy, and it's even more fun. Um, that and I just love their music, but that really helps. Um, another thing, like another artist I can think of, that's good for me when I'm writing particular scenes is hmm, let's see. Well, Fall Out Boy, yeah, Fall Out Boy, fine. I'll make myself that much more of a loser. Fall Out Boy is really good. Depending on which album you're listening to. um for like really congratulatory, really happy, like kind of college kid like feelings, like From Under the Cork Tree feels like a college kid's album to me. But and I say this as a college kid, but I don't really get to go to college anymore, so we don't really talk about that. Yeah, but you know. Okay, next question. What is a peeve you notice in places of writing not your own? Um, a pet peeve. Well, like I mentioned before, my pet peeve is mostly bad grammar. Um, but I can't overlook it. But in other people's writing, another pet peeve I'd have would be another pet peeve. Um, I'd say just not giving enough descriptions, not getting into the story enough. Like whenever I read certain stories, not just fan fiction, certain stories, and all the author can write is he smiled, they did that, they went there, and like I know some of the stories that are like supposed to be in the main character's point of view and they're not thinking too hard about, what they're doing. They're just doing their actions. But if they aren't conveying much feeling, then I don't I don't relate. I don't it's not engaging to me if like there's no feeling put in anything they're doing. And I'm not saying everything they do has to be like, oh, he smiled happily, she cried angstily. Like that's not what I'm asking for. But if you can't even go deeper into feelings past like the surface level, I just you lose me. And this isn't true with every story, but with stories that I would have otherwise liked, if you can't even go that much further into it, then I just kind of stop reading at some point, or I'm just get bored, or I forget I was even reading it. So then I'm just like, okay, whatever, next story. Um, but yeah. Um, the next question: how do you deal with writer's block? I'm just gonna bring up this graphic. I don't. See, this chart here was made to keep my plots in order. But what happened after I made this chart was I stopped writing the story. Do you know why I stopped writing the story? Because I didn't feel like it. And do you know why I didn't feel like it? And it's not even really writer's block's fault. You know why I didn't feel like it? Because I don't get any feedback. Or even if I get feedback, it's mostly from my beta reader, which I love her, by the way. Sora, I love you. Love you so much. Um, Sora? Sora? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's her name. I apologize. But yeah. It's not writer's block when it comes to me. It's more of all motivation lost. And it's more than just my depression. It's more than that kind of social anxiety shit. It's just, I don't feel like anyone's reading it. I don't feel like it matters anymore. And then I just stop. So, but if we're talking about legit writer's block, which I'll talk about, which is part of the question. Um, how I actually deal with writer's block is sometimes I just write little blurbs of sentences in a Word document, and I'll just let myself like do things that aren't fandom related, that aren't Hetalia related, so then I can actually write other things. So I'm not just pushing myself into a box. Um, and then the more I do that, um, the better. Um, I apologize, my brain. Um, but the more I do that, the let's see, the better it gets. I'd say the less of a funk I feel like I'm in. Because the more you write, even if it's like an essay or like a comment on YouTube's like the comment section, the more you write stuff, the easier it is to just keep writing. So if you just don't think about it, which is something I'm bad at, if you don't think about it, you'll write more and you won't have to worry about not feeling in the mood for writing. Because if you keep going, you just don't look at the clock, you're going to write something, and whether you like it or not with the first draft, you'll just keep figuring it out. It'll work itself out. Um, Next question. What is the one part of writing that comes naturally to you? And this is kind of gonna go tying back into what I was talking about before. Um, the one part that comes naturally to me, besides I'd say character interaction, is um, describing emotions specifically, like underline, underline emotions or something I'm very in tune with. And I'm not gonna say it's because I'm a Cancer, and I'm not gonna say it's because um I have like those kind of like mental um abnormalities. That's not the only reason why I feel like I'm so in tune with my emotions. I I am. And I just say that's the easiest part for me is getting myself to write those emotions. Even anger, which is something I don't openly express, I can write that so easily because I am a very emotional person. So that's the most natural part of writing for me is emotions. Um, the next question. How important is having an audience to share your writing with to you? Oh, incredibly important because, like I said, if I don't have an audience, then I don't have a reason to write. And if I don't have a reason to write, then I won't really write. So, yeah, that's the simplest of answers I can give. Next question. Your opinion on purple prose. To be honest, I had to look up what purple prose even is. Like, I never heard anyone use that term in my life. So, but I do know that I actually write purple prose a lot. Even in role play responses, like especially, I'm just gonna keep bringing it up. That fucking that fan fiction, especially in Bound by the Vintner, which is a US UK story, by the way. Um, I when I had my mom read like the first chapter, because she was like interested after I told her I got a few reviews. She was like, "What? Why are you writing like that? Who uses words like that? Do you think they can understand you?" And I was like, "Yeah, I know they can." But I even asked, I forget if it's like the third, second chapter. I was like, "Do you guys think I'm doing too much or anything?" And I had this one person be like, "Oh, as long as you're not trying to be Shakespearean, you're writing how you write. If you understand it, it's good. Just keep doing what you're doing." And yeah, so I really try my best not to be too much of a purple proser. It just kind of happens because that's just kind of how I write. It's same with like the alliterations that I do because I absolutely love alliteration. Like um it's mostly on purpose. If you see me do that, the alliteration or the purple prose, I might be doing it um as like a silly little, oh, look at me, I can do all these little alliterations, I can make it look so fancy, and to try and phone it home or whatever, to like a as a humor device. But otherwise I do it unintentionally, and then in those unintentional cases it is very much done seriously. Like I'm not, it just happens. I don't know. Ah, boy. I don't know who I am. Okay, second to last question. Are there any authors who inspire your prose or influence how you write? Or are you an, or are you an uncultured swine who has never picked up a book before? Um, in regards to that second question, it's been a long time since I've like actually read a book, but I do love reading. I do love books. I have a few authors that inspire me a lot, and I'm bad because I can't remember their names by heart. But well, except like Edgar Allan Poe. That's just because horror, and I'm a fan of horror, but like all I write is romance and comedy and like crack. So, oh no, I clicked the wrong link. Okay, wait a minute. But yeah, while I'm looking up the authors that I look up to, it's been a while since I've actually picked up a book besides the whole Hunger Games trilogy. Um, and at first, the Hunger Games was only because it was part of a school assignment, but then I just read all the books and I absolutely ate it all up because it's really good. Um, but I would say certain authors do influence me, but most of those authors are people, from the fan fiction circuit. So I'll just try and give you the authors that, you know, are published and those people that influence me. Those people would be David Lubar from, if I'm pronouncing that right, with those Weenies books he makes. I absolutely love all those books. It's been a while since I've like read a full one, and I don't know if he has a newer one out, which I'm pretty sure he would because he's really good at that. I really need to read another one of those because I have a few. Um, and besides him, like I said, The Hunger Games, The Magic Tree House from my childhood, also Junie B. Jones, really big in my childhood. Um, Goosebumps, so R.L. Stein, I love that kind of creepy stuff. Um, even if I don't really write it myself. Number of the Stars, an amazing Holocaust story. I think it's fiction. Even if it's fiction, I really love it. Um, the Giver series, which is another thing I had to read for school, but it's the series itself is really good. That's dystopian kind of um, genre, which I see I'm really big in if the Hunger Games is in there. Another book is this book called Miss Popularity. I got it from a book fair, and I can't give the author's name because that require more looking up, and I don't want to keep doing that. But the author, I can like tell you which book it is, like I know what the cover looks like. But that was a really good book about a girl being out of her element. She used to be a popular girl in Texas, and then she like I think she moved to Maine or like one of those like states up there where being all fashion forward doesn't really matter when you're about to freeze in the cold. So she had to like find her own place in a new world, and that's something I can like completely understand since I moved around a lot as a kid. And though I read that book when I was still in Germany because I was an army kid, though I read that book when I was still with my friends at the time, my all my in real life friends, because I don't really have much of those anymore. I still can like understand the feeling of being alone and not having a place to fit in. So that book was really amazing, all of it. Um, and besides that, it's also Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark by Alvin Schwartz, but mostly I wouldn't say that shaped my writing, but the imagery, the original books, the imagery, oh my god. Ooh, nightmares. You could get like a panic attack just talking about it. Actually, I don't really even have to separate it. My influences anyway. I don't really have to separate that from this last question, which is name another person, blog you follow, and name a specific aspect of the writing you value. Be sure to tag them. I made sure to look up on Twitter who they are because I follow both of them on Twitter. Um, but at author San Thora, so Thora, which for that last part. She used to write these really amazing 2P Hitalia reader inserts, and I don't really write reader inserts. I don't read them because they bother me, but hers were amazing. She had like those little paths. It was like a little pick your own adventure, and for her one story, which um I don't think she has a I don't think she has a fanfiction.net account anymore because I can't find it, and that made me so sad. Like once I was looking up my reviews because I review a lot, and I was trying to like see which one she responded to, but I couldn't find it anymore. So I think she deleted her account. But the pick your own adventure story, it was like if you choose this route, you'll be in good graces with Lutz. If you choose this route, you'll be in good graces with Mikado, and if you choose this route, you'll be in good graces with Luciano. And just every route, I read every single one because she read it. I'm gonna keep doing that because she wrote it so well. And her characterizations of the two P's weren't just, oh, I'm evil, I like blood, uh, we're the opposites, so we have to be evil. They were actual people, and I really respect that. Um, and the other author I'll talk about, which is Malice Macaroons, I don't know. I When I read it, I used to pronounce it Malice Macaroons, but I can't really do that anymore. But yeah, at Malice Macarons, um, and I know she's probably gonna be like, "You keep talking about me. Why are you embarrassing me like this?" But she is so amazing with her writing in general. When she let me be her beta reader for Go Your Own Way, which is another story of hers that I bring up like all the time, I was just honored, completely honored. And I'm just gonna keep mentioning this, but when she was like, "Oh, the best part of writing it, your reviews, that's gonna go away now that you're betaing for me," I'm like, no, 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 never. To not give her reviews for that amazing story. I forget how many like K's that is, like 200K plus. She wrote a lot. Like the first chapter, it felt like it could be split into like maybe 3 chapters, but she did it in one chapter, and I just like love her for that. More than the word length, I just love how everything she writes has so much emotion in it. Like I said, I'm a big emotional baby. Um, and it was in character. The story was compelling as hell from the first sentence, to be honest. Like, in my opinion, one of the best writers I've ever met at all. Um, so I'm glad that we can even be like friends ish, even if, we don't talk a lot, but that's not either of our faults. That's just how it is. Um, I really respect her as a writer. Oh, and she is an amazing artist too. You should go follow both of them. Author San Thora and Malice Macarons. Follow them both on Twitter, even though Twitter isn't my thing. You should still follow them anyway. And I do believe that is all. Oh, I left Russia up there for a while. But hopefully this wasn't painful for you, and hopefully you can actually hear me. Hopefully it wasn't skipping and stuff. I don't know what I'm doing with streams. This was my first attempt. I oh I talked for longer than I thought, but I tried. So I hope everyone enjoyed this, and I could try it again later, um, depending on stuff. Hopefully you hear me. Hopefully everything's good. Hopefully everyone's feeling good, and I hope you all have an amazing December, Christmas, happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, happy Kwanzaa, all that. And I love you guys. See you later. Bye.